It's been nearly 3 years since I featured this little beast on my channel, and recently I've had several requests for updates, wanting to know where the project is, where the restoration is going. So today we're going to talk about what's underneath this tarp. Stay tuned. So yesterday, Tropical Storm Henry came through, and we had a little bit of rain, a little bit of wind, but overall it wasn't too bad. This morning is really foggy. The moisture, the humidity is really high right now, and the ground is soaked. But I want to get this thing pulled off the trailer. So today we're going to do that, and let's unwrap it so you can see what it is we're talking about. So this is my 1951 John Deere MT tractor, and I've featured this very early on in the channel when I was trying to figure out exactly what the channel was going to be. And I've had this thing, God, since the late 80s, 1980s. So it's been here on my property for all these years. So my wife and I bought the property back in the early 80s, and the idea was that we wanted to have a small farm. And that's what we did, you know, the whole routine: cows, chickens, vegetables, all that kind of stuff. And we bought the tractor because our intention was to use it for all those farmy things. And we did. We used it to cut and bale hay. And this tractor's done a lot of work, and even though we gave up the farm nearly 20 years ago now, the tractor just has this really kind of warm spot in my heart. So I wanted to make sure that I held on to it. And my goal was to give it some love. And to that end, I've been trying to do a rolling restoration. The last video that I did 3 years ago, I tried to get the tractor started and it wouldn't start. So it sort of sat around in storage for all that time after that. And I fooled around with it, trying to work all the magic that I understood, trying to get it to run, and I just couldn't do it. So I broke down, and I brought it over to John Deere. Go figure. And it's funny, when I got it there, the staff of mechanics there are all young kids, and they were just in love with this tractor. So they gave it a lot of special care. Matter of fact, they were kind of sad to see it go when I took it. Anyway, they did their magic. They got this thing up and running. They did a full tune-up, and this thing runs like a charm. So we're going to pull it off the trailer today and get it started. So basically today's video is just about you hearing this thing run and me pulling it off the trailer. As the time goes on, I want to continue to do some of that restoration work, and I'll talk you through that as I'm unstrapping it. Man, the sun's coming out. I'm telling you what, considering how wet it is, and considering that it's supposed to be in the mid to upper 80s today, it's going to be hot and humid. This is going to be a tough day. That's why I wanted to get this done early in the morning. So let's talk about this. The tractor is in really pretty good shape. There are issues like there are with anything that's this old, and of course the tractor itself is in such good shape, but there's some cosmetic things that I want to work on. there's a lot of rusty spots. This cowl has been hit and beat, and I want to use hammer and dolly and sort of pull out some of these dents that have happened or occurred over the years, and try to make that as straight as I can. Just to give you an example, all of this wire grill mesh is in really good shape, so I'm not going to have to do a lot of work here. We'll take and we'll pound it out. There's a few little dents in it here and there. We'll pound all that out and get that so it's looking really good. And again, I mentioned there were some dents in here and around this area here. We'll pound all that out and we'll make that look pretty again. We'll scrape it down and using some paint systems. I'm probably not going to put it into a spray booth or anything, but just use some rattle can restoration here perhaps, and get this thing so that it looks presentable again. This is a trick that one of my race car mechanic friends taught me a long time ago. He hauls a lot of cars, and one of the concerns is always that one of these straps could fail. And if you're driving down the highway at 70 miles an hour, and one of those straps let go, then you're either relying on the second strap, or even if that were to spring back, you could snap both straps. So this is something that Wayne has made, that I put a safety chain around the trailer and somewhere on whatever you're hauling, so that should those straps break, then the chain is going to help keep the whatever you're hauling in place. So in one of those early videos featuring the tractor, I had to remove this wheel, and it was quite a project getting that wheel off. After years of sitting, it had pretty much secured itself in place. But what I wanted to do was to change or put a new tire on, and that other tire had exploded. It had blown up, and all the calcium chloride had come out. But the calcium chloride, if you go back and look at that video, and I'll put a link in the description, it had rusted through where the valve stem is. So I had to weld up or fill in that hole with weld, then re-drill it, and then of course I wanted to get it all sanded down and painted. So that was the first real thing that I did to it. So this is the other side of the tractor, and I want to do the same thing to this rim. Fortunately, there's not any holes in this that I have found yet. It's pretty rusty. Again, it needs to be scraped down and painted. And when I brought the tractor up to John Deere, this tire was also filled with calcium chloride. I need to replace this tire because it's all weather checked and cracked. The tire's, it's been here on this thing since I bought it. And the tire has lived both indoors and outdoors, but mostly it spent its time outdoors. So the sun wreaks havoc with these old rubber tires. So I need to get this off. And the tire company that has these tires, they will not pull the calcium off. So I asked John Deere to pull the calcium out of this tire. They did that, and that way now I can pull the tire off and get this thing this rim all restored and put a new tire on it. And then again, that's all part of this rolling restoration that I'm talking about. Now I try to use ethanol-free gas in these old things that I keep and collect. And in this case, this had regular gas in it, and the tractor sat for 2 years, and unfortunately the ethanol gummed up the carburetor. So John Deere rebuilt the carburetor. They got all kinds of new parts in here. They also installed a new filter bowl, and that was actually leaking, so they've got that fixed now. So that works. That works like it's supposed to work. I can actually shut it off, turn it on, and shut it off, and keep the gas from sort of pressurizing the carburetor. All right, what else? So I wasn't able to get a spark, so I figured that it was either the coil or the points, condenser, all that. This is all 50s technology, so state of the art at the time, but not state of the art today. But that's what makes these old things just special in so many ways. So they ended up having to replace the cap, the rotor, the condenser, the points, and then put these new wires on. And then that was enough to fix the spark issue, which I was pretty sure it was. But they changed the oil filter, and changed the air oil bath on the other side, and just did a nice job getting this thing up and running, tuned up, and it just is really running nice. I also did an oil change. One of the problems was while I was trying to start it, what was happening is I was getting gas down into the oil because of the way the tractor motor works. So I'm trying to start it, and it's just pumping gas or flowing gas into the cylinders, and it's just getting down into the oil. So they did do a complete oil change, which you need to do when you start to thin your oil out with gasoline or anything. So I'm up on the tractor right now, and I want to show you how this thing starts, the sequence that we go through. It's no big deal, pretty simple actually, but let's go through that process and get this thing started so we can pull it off the trailer. So we have a master switch, or master ignition switch. It actually controls both the ignition, the charging system, and the lights. So there's multiple clicks. So the first click is a low charge, but it still is the ignition. And then the second one is a high charge, which means you're putting more charge back into the battery. I'm not entirely sure I understand the purpose behind that, but that's what it is. There's also a choke. These are old style carburetors. So there's a choke. You need to choke it to get it started. On this side is the ignition switch, or the starter switch. We'll just pull this back and that'll engage the starter. The shift, it's a 4-speed transmission on this. So there's 4 forward speeds and 1 in reverse. In 4th gear, you're buzzing down the highway at pretty good speed. And with these old wobbly trike gears, that can get pretty sporty. So this is the throttle. I did a video on this where the throttle linkage had come loose, and I had to take it all apart to figure out why it had come loose and what was loose, and we got that repaired, or got it mostly repaired. And then this is the throttle. You pull it up to add fuel, push it down to reduce fuel. Generally, when you're running the tractor, you just pick an RPM and just run it at that, and you don't spend a lot of time throttling up and down like you would a car. Down below is the clutch. Looks like any other clutch. Over here is dual brakes, left brake, right brake. We're going to be using both brakes at the same time. So for instance, if you were just to push one brake, that would lock up the tire on the side that the brake is, and this tractor would literally spin on itself. It's really kind of interesting, and sometimes that can get pretty sporty too, depending on the terrain and depending on how much speed you got. All right, that's it. Let's go ahead and pull this thing off the trailer. So obviously this is a tricycle gear tractor, so the outside tires are out to the outside, whereas the front tire is centered to the tractor. Well, the ramps, I've only got 2 ramps. So obviously when I back the tractor down, the 2 outside wheels are going to come down the ramp. And then I'm going to have to stop, shut the tractor off, and then move one of those ramps inward so that the center wheels or the trike wheels can then come down the ramp as well. Alright, so we'll end the video right here. We're going to put this thing away. If this content is something you think you might be interested in, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I can feature more videos on this rolling restoration. Not going to do a lot with it right now, but certainly when I do work on it, if it's something you're interested in, just let me know and I'll be happy to feature it on the channel. That being said, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the bell so you get notified the next time I post a video. Guys, I really appreciate you. Thanks for watching.